What's up, fellow gamers? Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the brand new Season 2 update. And this update surprised me because there's actually a lot more to it than I initially thought. There are multiple things that DICE did to the game that they didn't list in the patch notes that are not small things. And there are things that they did list in the patch notes that ended up being way more interesting and impactful for gameplay than I initially anticipated. So let's start going over things. If you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit the sub button, hit the like button, and swing by the streams. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and this YouTube channel. All links are in the description. I want to talk about the map first, Hagental Base. This is very clearly the meat grinder, Operation Metro, Operation Locker style map for Battlefield 6. And as a result, it is one of the more important maps Battlefield 6 will ever receive, because regardless of anyone's opinion, the fact of the matter is, the Battlefield player base historically has enjoyed a good old linear clusterfuck of a map. Battlefield 3 and 4 were kept alive by Metro and lockers for over a decade at this point. You can still go back and play Battlefield 4 on Operation Locker to this day. And even though 2042 was a pile of shit overall, Redacted really increased my enjoyment of the game. Because all that game was good for was basically mindlessly throwing yourself at a horde of enemies. When it comes to Hagental Base, it doesn't immediately remind me of any of the previous Battlefield meat grinders. The closest one is definitely Redacted, but this still has its own feel to it. First of all, the center area of the map is way more wide open than I initially thought it would be. And there are multiple different routes you can take to flank in basically every single part of the map. During my playtime on both Conquest and Breakthrough, I didn't personally experience getting spawn trapped or stuck in a chokehold pretty much at all. And for those of you that have played previous installations of meat grinder maps in Battlefield, you know that getting stuck at a choke point is pretty much almost guaranteed, but it didn't really happen for me today. One super important thing that I need to point out with this map is this is the honeymoon period, right? So everyone is learning how to play this map. And that happens with every single map that releases. It happened with Contaminated and all the other prior releases. But for meat grinder maps in particular, like Hagental Base, it will play completely differently in 2 weeks than it does right now, once the player base essentially learns what gets them easy kills. And that is to say, they basically learn how to cheese the map, they understand how to hold weird angles, sit in weird spots, and then the entire gameplay of the map completely shifts. So in about 2 weeks' time, we will see how Hagental Base truly plays. But as for right now, I think it's at least a top 4 map in the game, and it certainly isn't a wasted map release. Touching on some things mentioned in the patch notes, I noticed the audio is slightly better in my opinion. I noticed myself placing the position of footsteps that I was hearing a lot more consistently. But I wouldn't say we are at 2042 footstep level of audio. I definitely do think it is an improvement. Now, when it comes to hit registration and netcode, I personally didn't notice anything different. I think it's the exact same. Or if I'm really grasping straws, maybe it's like 5% better. But I definitely can't be certain of that. So I think, unfortunately, those netcode fixes, I can't feel them in the gameplay. Maybe technically there's something fixed on like the back end of the game that is technically working better than it was before, but I can't say for certain that I feel the differences in the gameplay. I still died around corners pretty egregiously. The next few things I'm going to talk about are in games, so well, let's start the fucking game. The first really cool thing they didn't mention in the patch notes that they added to the game is this special menu. So we have advanced weapon stats now, which clears up a lot of the confusion regarding some of the attachments. For instance, if you go in here and let's say you have a weapon that has a rail cover, you can actually see what it does now. So like, let's say I remove it and then I just want to equip it. It improves your sprint recovery and it tells you the exact amount of milliseconds it increases it by. It also tells you things like collateral multiplier, so that's for like penetration ammo. It tells you suppressor ranges when people can see on the minimap, and just a ton of other really important things that we couldn't see before. So good job, DICE. Another thing that happened with this update has to do with the movement. Now, if you remember a couple patches ago, they nerfed the movement, and they nerfed things like strafing acceleration, the distance the slide actually traveled, I think the speed of the slide as well after you landed, and air strafing. So if you tried to make like a directional control in air, it basically just, you know, cucked you and you couldn't do it anymore. I'm not sure if what happened in this update is intentional, but it appears 2 of the 3 movement nerfs have been reverted. Now, the nerf to the air strafing is still in place as far as I can tell. You still can't, you know, change its direction nearly as much as you used to be able to before the movement nerf patch. But from my experience in game, the acceleration nerf to strafing has been entirely reverted, and the slide nerf has been reverted. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is fucking awesome and exactly what they should have done, because the movement nerfs weren't necessary in the first place, and now the game feels way better as a result of these, hopefully, intentional changes reverting these prior nerfs. So, if these are intentional changes, good job, DICE. If they're not intentional changes, god fucking damn it. Now, they also added brand new attachments to the game. One of the most important ones is definitely the violet laser. This is a 10-point laser that basically gives you the accuracy benefit of the 20-point blue laser, and the only thing separating the violet laser and the blue laser is the violet laser, number 1, is 10 points less. Number 2, it does not improve your hipfire accuracy, but the other thing differentiating the violet laser and the blue laser is the violet laser gives you the accuracy buff without having the laser visible, which is fucking insane. Okay? This single attachment, in my opinion, is a complete mistake, because what they've essentially allowed you to do is they have just made weapon builds even more insane than they already were. And the violet laser just compounds the already existing issue of weapons being too easy to shoot, too accurate, and too beamy at range. So I'm just going to show you what this build was before. The build that I had on my L85 before was this. I had to spend 20 points to get the moving accuracy buff of the blue laser, and that was it. I couldn't fit anything else on my build, so this was it. Long suppressor, heavy extended, slim angled, whatever. But now, because the L85 is a mid-range weapon, I'm not going to be using this in short range, I don't care about the hipfire benefit of the blue laser. I'm just going to equip the violet laser, which literally just gives me the exact benefit that I want, which is increasing my accuracy for 10 less points, and I can use lightweight ammo, which this menu now tells me increases my ADS move speed multiplier to 0.67. Of course it's 0.67, right, guys? I'm sure the comment section will love that. But I can just equip other attachments and make this build even better. So, now, the end result is, on some weapon builds, you're just going to make them even better because of the violet laser, and you can now fit in things like faster reloading, faster strafe speed, maybe even recoil grips, and that is why this attachment is so important. Another example of this would be, like, for instance, on the DRS. We go over here. The DRS, I mean, you can get pretty much everything on this gun now. Like, this gun it was already one of the best guns in the entire game, but now, yeah. It's just fucking disgusting. I figured I would talk about this. This is the new sidearm. I think it's called the Scorpion. Guys, I have horrible news. The Scorpion is complete fucking dog shit, okay? We're talking about a gun that has 11 rounds in a magazine. And you're telling me it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not done. Guys, it's not done. I've shot him 6 times. 7 bullets to kill. That's at 10 meters. It takes 6 bullets to kill within 10 meters. So if he was a little bit farther up here, it would take 6 bullets to kill. Then it drops to 8 bullets to kill. So the gun has 11 bullets and it takes 6 to kill someone if they're point blank. Okay, maybe that's not so bad if I can have a better magazine. Well, wouldn't you know? Look at this. They have a magazine option. And it costs 40 points, which conveniently makes it the only attachment you can have if you want the extended mag. I really don't know what DICE has against the sidearms in this game. The primary weapons are laser beams of death, like literal railguns, and the sidearms are trash. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, only 3 sidearms in this game are even viable. The M44, the Trait, and the 1911. Every single other sidearm is legitimately worthless. You can forget about it. And that makes me sad, because I really wanted the VZ61 to be good, but it's just not. Now, another ridiculous attachment they added to the game isn't one you would typically think is ridiculous, but I think people heavily underrate the attachment I'm about to show you, and it's a flashlight. Even the 10-point flashlight is super fucking annoying, but wouldn't you know it, they added a 5-point flashlight, and it activates when you aim down sights. So yes, technically, it is worse than the 10-point flashlight, but the flashlights in this game are so unbelievably strong. I can't believe people don't complain about them more. You can get in someone's face, and I understand it's a flashlight, but the fact that it basically gives them like a fucking, like a wall in front of them, a wall of light that completely blocks them from vision in close quarters for 5 points if I'm aiming down sights, I might start recommending this in my builds, because this is actually broken, in my opinion. This is almost too good not to use on some weapons, particularly weapons you're going to be using in close quarters. As far as the other things with this update, the night mode, night vision goggles, all that stuff, I will have a dedicated video on that, because I think it's actually going to be pretty insane. It's going to turn Battlefield 6 into a literal horror game, but I could also anticipate it being possibly the worst thing ever, because I saw on a couple people's streams, if you're wearing the night vision goggles and someone shines a flashlight or a laser at you, it basically just destroys your fucking retinas out of your skull. So I don't know if getting flashbanged constantly sounds like a lot of fun. Overall, this update is pretty mixed in my opinion. We had some unexpected, really good things. I like the map, and then the attachments sort of pile on to the existing issues of the game. I'm not so much of a huge fan with that. The netcode changes not really delivering what I wanted them to is really disappointing, because it is one of the biggest issues with the game. And then you have to think to yourself, is this update going to be the best thing that happens to this game in a while? Because the third part of Season 2 is just fucking nothing. I think off the top of my head, we're getting a machete cosmetic or something. It's basically irrelevant. That's why I've forgotten about it. So what's going to happen is there's just going to be a large period of downtime where almost nothing happens with Battlefield yet again until Season 3 gets announced and we understand the release date of that. This is why Battlefield falls short. This is why nobody cares about the game for a long period of time. You can't have gigantic periods of downtime with nothing significant happening to your game. That just isn't compatible with today's gaming market. And of course, in classic EA fashion, they are, what, years behind on catching up to everyone else regarding this? They legitimately seem to be consistently 5 to 6 years behind what everyone else is doing. RedSec is a perfect example of that. So, with all that being said, be sure to let me know what you think about today's update, the map, and everything that I showed you. And if you somehow have the new SMG unlocked, I know you paid for it, okay? You gave EA money. But if you gave EA money, which you shouldn't have done, tell me how the new SMG is, because I haven't unlocked it yet. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit the sub button, hit the like button, and swing by the streams. All the links are in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video.